Saba Sangyangi Sange Je Koi Lo Vilasa Se Saba Sangira Sange Je Koi Lo Vilasa Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamadasa Jayanilo Premadhana Karuna Pracho Jayanilo Hena Prabhu Kota Gila Bhatta Tako Gila Bhatta Tako Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya He who brought the treasure of prema out of his great compassion, where has such a venerable personality as Sri Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar Goswami and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan Goswami? Where is Raghunath Das Goswami, the savior of fallen souls? Where are my Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami? Where is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami? Where has Gauranga, the king of dancers, suddenly gone? I shall dash my head upon a stone or enter into fire. Oh, where should I go to find Gauranga, the treasure house of all divine qualities? Unable to obtain the association of that Sri Srinivasacharya, who performed pastimes with the associates of Mahaprabhu, Narottam Das weeps. Jai Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Sat Goswami Astakam. Jai. Jai. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro 264 Premamritambo Nidhi Dira Dira Jana Priya Priya Karo Nirmatsaro Pujito Shri Chaitanya Kripavara Bhuvi Bhuvo Varavahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Nana Shastra Vicharanaike Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Shri Gauranga Gunarnavana Navido Shara Samrindan Vito papotapanikrintanatanubhritam Govindaganamritai Anandam Buddhivardhanaika Nipuno Kaivalyani Starako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Tvakyato Namashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sadatu Chavatam Budvadina Ganesha Ko Karunaya Kopina Kanta Shito Gopi Bhavara Samrita Bhilahari Kalola Magna Moho Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Kuja Kokila Hamsa Sarasagana Kirne Mayora Kule Nana Radnani Bhara Mula Vitapa Shri Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Uharnisham Pravajato Jiva Doyo Muda Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopala Koko Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Nativi Kalavasani Krito Nijahara Vihara Kari Vijito Chatyantadina Chaya Radha Krishna Gunasmite Madhurima Nandena Samohito Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Radha Krishna Tate Govinditanaya Tire Chavansi Vate Preman Madhavasara Shesharasaya Gasto Pramato Sada Gayanto Chakadahare Gunavaram Pava Vibhuta Mura Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako He Radhe Braja Devi Ke Chalalite He Nanda Sunakuta Shri Govardhana Kalpa Padapatale Kalindi Vanye Kuta Koshanta Viti Sarvata Brajapore Kedar Mahavivalo Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalago Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopala Go Jaya Sat Goswami Jaya Sat Goswami Sat Goswami Jaya Sat Goswami Jaya Sada Goswami Sada Goswami Sada Goswami Jaya Sada Goswami Jaya Gopala Bhatta Jaya Gopal Bhatta Goswami Gopal Bhatta Goswami Jaya Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Sorry, my brain is completely. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Okay. English? Perpetually immersed in singing, dancing, and heartfelt kirtan of the name, form, qualities, pastimes, associates, and realm of Sri Krishna, the six Goswamis embody the ocean of nectarian love. Dear to both gentlemen and ruffians, always engaged in pleasing activities and completely free from envy, they are adored by all. They are the recipients of Sri Chaitanya's immense mercy, and they therefore remove the burden of the earth through the distribution of bhakti ras. I worship the six Goswamis, Sri Rup, Sri Sanatan, Sri Raghunath Bhatta, Sri Raghunath Das, Sri Jiva, and Gopala Bhatta. They are uniquely expert in ascertaining the essence of all revealed scriptures, and they establish the supreme occupation of the soul, Bhagavad Bhakti. They are the true benefactors of the people, worshipful for the three worlds, and affectionate to those who have taken shelter of them. Due to the bliss of bhajan of the lotus feet of Shri Radha Krishna, they have become like intoxicated honeybees. I worship Sri Rup, Sanata Bhatta Raghunath, Raghunath Das, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis. They are enriched with deep faith in the process of describing the various qualities of Sri Gauranga. They nullify the great distress generated from the sinful activities of embodied beings by showering on them nectarian songs about Govinda. They are especially expert in expanding the ocean of bliss, and they rescue all from impersonalism by imparting the secrets of bhakti. I worship Sri Rup, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. They fully abandoned at once the association of kingly aristocracy, deeming it insignificant, and out of compassion they humbly wore only loincloths and ragged quilts. Thereafter they repeatedly immersed themselves in the delightful, billowing waves in the nectarian ocean of ras, the bhavs felt by the gopis. I worship Sri Rup, Sanata, Raghunath Bhatta, Dasa Raghunath, Sri Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis. Crowded with sweetly cooing cuckoos, swans, and cranes, as well as groups of peacocks, Vrindavan is shining beautifully with trees that have many varieties of gems inlaid beneath their roots. I was going to ask her about that. Remind me. There, day and night, the Goswamis intensely worship Shri Radha Krishna, thus endowing all jivas with the ultimate benefit of life. I worship Sri Rup, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Dasa Goswamis. They would pass their times by daily chanting a fixed number of holy names, singing particular songs, and offering regulated obeisances to saints, deities, and the Lord's pastime places. Thus they fully conquered the urges of eating, sleeping, recreation, and so forth. Always considering themselves to be unlimitedly lowly and insignificant, they became enchanted in sweet rapture by remembering Shri Radha Krishna's qualities. That's my favorite line. I worship Sri Rup, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis. Wandering along the banks of Radhakunda or the Yamuna, and sometimes at Bamshibat, they would be forever seized by limitless transcendental states, intoxicated by the utter madness of prema. Overwhelmed with bhav, they would jubilantly sing about the exalted qualities of Sri Hari, I worship Sri Rup, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. O Radha, Queen of Vrindavan, O Lalita, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are you? Are you beneath the Kalpavriksha trees of Sri Govardhan Hill? Or are you in the forest on the banks of the Kalindi? Thus calling out, greatly overwhelmed in separation, they would wander throughout the length and breadth of Braj Mandal. I worship Sri Rupa Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis. Jai Shri Sat Goswami Astakam Ki Jai. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami Ki Jai. Next program. Okay, can someone? Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. No close up. Love the shotocragy. It's not at this hour. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Raman Bihari, Radha Raman Bihari, Radha Raman Bihari, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaurahari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaurahari. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Agyanam timarandasya Gyananjanasalakaya Chaksurunmilitam yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Gurave Gaudachandraya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Nama Yang Pravajantam Manupetam apeta krityam Dvaipayano virakataruhava Putreti tanmayataya Taravo benedus Tang sarva bhutaridayam Munimanatusmi Bhaktya vinay Aparadalakshay Shiptasya kamari tarangamadye Kripamayi tvam sharanam prapadyam Brinde namaste charanarvindam Tavaivasmi Najivami tam vina iti vikyaya radhe tam nayamam charanantike. First I offer my unlimited, Kripayati yadi radha Parita shesha badha Kima paramashishtam Pushti maryadi yorme Yadi vadati chakinship Smera sodita svir Twijavaramani panktya Mukti shaktya tadagyam Shama sundara shikanda shekar Smera samurali manohar Radhika rasikamam kripanite Swapriya charana kinkarim karu Sri Makabjara Salola Satapada Radhika Paratale Kritistitem Tam Bhajami Rasikendra Shekhar Sambadaya Dashine Po Partaye Brajamahendra Nandan Astu Mohan Tavati Balava Janma Janme Marisvari Priya. First I offer my unlimited obeisances. Can this be louder? Unto the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishna Om Vishnupad, Asto to the Sat Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to our Param Gurudev Sri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, and Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to all of his divine associates, and to all the assembled devotees, and to the assembled devotees, Diksha Gurus or my Shiksha Gurus, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta, Madhav Maharaj, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta, Ban Maharaj, and Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta, Siddhanti Maharaj. So as you know, today is the most auspicious day of the disappearance day of Sri Srimad Bhakti, Sri Srimad Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who was, you heard about this morning, was one of the 6 Goswami direct associates of direct disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he's also a disciple of his father and 2 uncles, Venkata Bhatt, Trimala Bhatt, and Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. And you heard this morning about the book, famous book that he authored, which is called, what's it called? Hari Bhakti Vilas, which has a very deep meaning. It's the beautiful pastimes of Sri Hari, who steals away the heart of Srimati Radhika. And Vilas means pastimes. His bhakti, their bhakti, their devotion to each other, to all their associates. And I think you're going to share some of the things you said, specifics from this morning. You can take that mic.
So the specifics of what I read mainly was the introduction information that he was asking the question, why did I write this book? And he said, how am I qualified to write such a book? And he was saying that though I'm unqualified, I have full faith in the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he stressed like this, kind of like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami did with his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then he said, what is the purpose of writing a book is to bring those to the path of devotional service. And that was the gist of majority of the introduction. And then he said, what is the first thing to do to enter into the path of devotional service is to go to someone who knows the path. So then he starts speaking on what are the characteristics or qualities of someone who can actually take us into devotional service, which he explains as a qualified spiritual master. So then he goes into some great detail about the amazing qualities of a pure devotee of the Lord. Some of those qualities are that he is completely free of envy of others. His behavior is very pleasant. In there he wrote, even seeing such a person makes one feel a sense of calm or satisfied. And that the person knows perfectly the Vedic truth. You know, he's not contaminated by any other qualities such as the atheistic philosophies of Jaimini, etc. And then it was just on and on, just amazing qualities of a pure devotee of the Lord. That was my general impression, is how amazing actually is a pure devotee of the Lord. And one thing that he mentioned there is that a pure devotee of the Lord, a bona fide spiritual master, has the ability to also give Krishna to the disciple. And And then he gave the opposite of that, the qualities that make one not a bona fide spiritual master, which were mainly uh, kind of everything we hear in Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, Hatyahara, Prayasis, all these things. He said that a person's behavior is very vulgar, or they're engaged in over-endeavor in material activity. They're eating a lot, too much, more than necessary. They're using foul language. They even smell foul. He said so many descriptive details. And
Qualifications of a bona fide disciple.
so the qualities of the bona fide disciple, the thing that impressed me the most was their desire to serve their spiritual master. He quoted some verses that he was saying that no matter even the behavior of that spiritual master, the disciple will always still want to be serving. He said such a disciple is serving by body, word, and mind their spiritual master.
You just said don't accept a disciple with a bad behavior, and now you're saying the disciple should serve that.
Yeah, it sounded counterintuitive, but it's mentioned there that such a person with those qualities, if they are behaving with the disciple in a way which seems like they're being neglectful, not that spiritual master is like rough, it's hard to explain, but has like I'll find the exact verse, but it said if the spiritual master hits the disciple or in some instance acts like he's neglecting the disciple.
Well, that's a completely different
Yeah.
sense that it gives.
Yeah, that was the exact example, was that situation. Not that one should serve unqualified spiritual master, but even in the case, the qualified disciple will have so much devotion for their spiritual master that even in the case of apparent neglect, still they're there serving. And yeah. So
And did he explain about sannyas?
I didn't get to the part of sannyas. The part that I did get to, he gave explanations of Gopal mantra.
What about it?
He explained that the Gopal mantra has very, very profound effects. He gave a lot of kind of like the opulence of the Gopal mantra. There was one verse in there saying that any mantra of the name of the Lord is not different than he who's being named. Abhinitva nama namino. And then he explained in this mantra, he quoted many verses from Gopal Tapini Upanishad, and he quoted Lord Brahma receiving this mantra from Lord Krishna, and how Lord Brahma was praying, how can I do this service of creating the universe? And so then Krishna gave him this Gopal mantra, and it explained that all of the different syllables of the mantra were different aspects of the material manifestation. Like it broke down clean, and it was like K is like the earthly manifestation, L is like the water, and then he said at the end of the mantra, Swaha, Brahma used to make the motion of everything. So it went on and on about this elaborate description of how the actual mantra itself he used to create the universe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good.
Okay.
So, what I'm going to be speaking about is how Gopal Bhatta Goswami became Gopal Bhatta and how he came to write this Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas and other books. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his South India tour, wherever he went, and even whoever he embraced, they all became Vaishnavas. He went to so many Vishnu temples, because that's how it is in South India, and he converted everyone there to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And he even went to so many Lord Shiva temples. Like in one place it was 12. And so all over South India there was an abundance of Lord Shiva temples where Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances, offered his prayers, and chanted Hare Krishna in ecstatic love. And of course everyone was affected. So now we're coming to a specific place where he would spend the next 4 months, because in India it's scheduled that there are 4 months of the rainy season. In Kali Yuga generally there's a topsy-turvy of seasons. One season doesn't come in the right season. But in India particularly there are 6 seasons, and 4 of them are the rainy. 2 seasons are the rainy seasons. So at that time, the sannyas, the traveling preacher, doesn't preach because it's so rainy. So he stays in one place and just preaches in that one place. So Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, and he bathed in a specific river called the Kaveri River. And he went to the most famous deity there in Tamil, South India, which is the Ranganath deity. Maybe you've seen him kind of lying down, extremely opulent, full of gold and silver and jewels. And he felt himself very successful. Why? Of course, the reason that he came to this material world was Krishna wanted to taste Radha's love. He chanted and danced at ecstatic love of God, and seeing his performance, everyone was struck with wonder. All you had to do was look at him to be converted. And because the rainy season was arrived just at this time, the head of one very holy family called the Bhatt family, that is Tirumala Bhatt and Venkata Bhatt, and their brother Prabodhananda Saraswati. And then they had one son between them called Gopal, who was the son of Venkata Bhatt. So this Venkata Bhatt invited Mahaprabhu to stay at his home because he knew that the rainy season had arrived and Mahaprabhu needed a place to stay. So with great respect, he invited him to his home. And then after he washed the Lord's feet, all the members of his family, that is the 2 brothers and 1 son, they all drank that water, like we have the deity's bathing water. And after he gave him lunch, he asked him to stay there for the 4 months. Please be merciful and stay at my house during Chaturmasya. Speak about the Lord's pastimes and kindly deliver me by your mercy. So Mahaprabhu stayed there for 4 months, and he passed his days in great happiness, enjoying the transcendental mellows of discussing Lord Krishna's pastimes. So most everybody in South India were worshippers of Lakshmi Narayan. And that's why the main deity there was Ranganath. And they were initiated into the Sri Sampradaya, or Lakshmi Sampradaya. And therefore, their initiation and their philosophical belief system and worship was all based on was all based on tradition rather than constitution of their soul. So, in the course of Mahaprabhu, in the course of Mahaprabhu giving Harikatha, of course, a conversation ensued of kind of debate where who is superior, Lakshmi Narayan or Radha and Krishna. So he generally bathed in the Kaveri. I can imagine the rivers were all clean at that time in that place. And every day he also danced in ecstasy. So just by seeing the beauty of his body and his ecstatic love, that was witnessed by everyone. And sometimes when he was out in public, there were like crowds of hundreds of thousands of people just all gathered. They all came to see him, and as soon as they saw him, all of their unhappiness and distress vanished. So what does that mean? We have so many things to be distressful about during the day. And if we want it all to vanish, then all we have to do is remember the beauty of the Lord and remember Him and see Him, think of Him, think of His qualities and His pastimes. But that means really think, not intellectually think. After hundreds of thousands of people, from various countries even, they all came to see him. And after they all saw him, they all chanted the Maha Mantra. The Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that that's how you can recognize a pure devotee. That as soon as you see him, you start chanting. Indeed, they didn't chant anything else but the Hare Krishna mantra. And all of them became Krishna's devotees. Thus, the general populace was astonished. Wow. So that's how it is when any pure devotee was there. Except for those who are envious, they try to cut him down. All the Vaishnava Brahmanas residing in Rangakshetra, Chetra just means place, Sri Ranga, Lakshmi Narayan, Chetra, invited the Lord to their homes every day. So each day he was invited by a different Brahmana, but some of them did not get the opportunity to offer them lunch because the period of Chaturmasya came to an end. So there's 4 months, that's 30 days per month. So imagine how many houses he took lunch in. So then, because we want to stick to Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he Mahaprabhu meets different people along the way. So being a Vaishnava want to stand up before you finally fade out? Being a Vaishnava in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, Venkata Bhatt worshipped the deity of Lakshmi Narayan. Seeing his pure devotion, Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. But they had developed a very friendly relationship so they could joke with each other. Constantly associating with one another, they gradually developed a very friendly relationship, and indeed, at times they laughed and joked with each other. So Mahaprabhu told him, "Your worshipful goddess, and all during this time, during these 4 months, whenever they were conversing or whenever Mahaprabhu went to take his bath in the river, Gopal Bhatta was always serving him, carrying his loincloth, carrying his water pot and cooking for him, washing clothes. So Mahaprabhu told Bhattacharya, your worshipful goddess is Lakshmi, who always remains at the chest of Narayan, and she's certainly the most chaste woman in all creation. However, my Lord is Lord Krishna, a coward boy who's engaged in tending cows. Why is that Lakshmi, being such a chaste wife, why is she doing austerities to join the Rasa Leela? Just to associate with Krishna, she abandoned all transcendental happiness in Vaikuntha, and for a long time took vows of severe austerities and performed unlimited austerities. Mahaprabhu then said, he quoted this verse that I just started thinking of as soon as I was reading the previous verse. It's a verse sung by the Nagapatnis about their husband, who's another serpent, name is Kalya. And she talks about Lakshmi. How is it that my husband got such success as to get your feet, the dust of your feet on his head, because you danced on his head, whereas Lakshmi did such severe austerities and she couldn't. Vasanti knows this verse. Can you sing it? Kasyanubhava Syanadeva Vidmahe Tavangri Renu Sparashadikara Yadvanshaya Sri Lalanacharatapo Vihaya Kamam Suchirandrita Vrita. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kalya attained such an opportunity to be touched by the dust of your lotus feet. Even the goddess of fortune, for this end, performed austerities for centuries, that's a long time, giving up all desires and taking austere vows. Indeed, we do not know how the serpent Kalya got such opportunity. So then Bhatta said, Lord Krishna and Lord Narayan are one and the same, but the pastimes of Krishna are more relishable due to their sportive nature. Since Krishna and Narayan are both the same personality, Lakshmi's association with Krishna did not break her vow of chastity. Rather, it was in great fun that she wanted to associate with Krishna. According to transcendental realization, there's no difference between the forms of Narayan and Krishna. Yet in Krishna there's a special transcendental attraction due to the conjugal mellow, and consequently he surpasses Narayan. This is the conclusion of transcendental mellows. The goddess of fortune considered that her vow of chastity would not be damaged by her relationship with Krishna. Rather, by associating with him, she would enjoy the benefit of the rasa dance. Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is also an enjoyer of transcendental bliss. So what's the problem if she wanted to enjoy herself with Krishna? Why are you joking about this? So Mahaprabhu replied, I know that there's no fault in her, but still she couldn't enter, that's the thing. She wasn't qualified to enter. We hear this from revealed scriptures. And then he quoted a verse from Bhagavatam. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, he put his arms around the necks of the gopis and embraced them. This transcendental favor was never granted to the goddess of fortune and other consorts in the spiritual world, nor was such a thing even imagined by the beautiful girls of heaven, whose bodily luster, like people put on perfume here, their natural body luster is like lotus flowers. And what to speak of worldly women who are beautiful just by mundane means, just like pus, basically. But how can you tell me why? Can you tell me why the goddess of fortune could not enter the rasa dance? The authorities of the Vedic literatures could enter the dance, and they could associate with Krishna, but why couldn't she? Then he quoted another verse from the Bhagavatam. Great sages, by practicing the mystic yoga system and controlling the breath. Now, Gopal Bhatta is also sitting and listening. By practicing the mystic yoga system and controlling the breath, conquer the mind and senses, thus engaging the mystic yoga and seeing the supersoul in their hearts, they ultimately enter impersonal Brahman, along with the enemies of the Supreme Lord. However, the damsels of Braj, the gopis, want to embrace Krishna and his arms, which are like serpents. Being attracted by the beauty of Krishna, the gopis ultimately tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of Krishna. The Upanishads have also tasted the nectar of his lotus feet by following the footsteps of the gopis. But why not her? Having been asked by Mahaprabhu why the goddess of fortune couldn't enter, whereas the authorities of the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, certainly Upanishads, the Shrutis, Venkatabat replied, I cannot enter the mysteries of this behavior. Actually, I'm an ordinary human being. Since my intelligence is very limited and I'm easily agitated, my mind cannot enter within the deep ocean of the pastimes of the Lord. You're the Supreme Lord yourself. You know the purpose of your activities, and the person whom you enlighten, they can also know. So don't blame me that I don't know something because I just wasn't enlightened about it. The Lord replied, Krishna has a specific characteristic. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. By following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of the planet known as Brajloka or Goloka Vrindavan, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. However, in that planet, the inhabitants don't know that Krishna is God. That was her problem. Because she thinks, okay, Narayan and Krishna are the same, and he's also God, and my husband is also God, because there's no difference between them, except that Krishna relishes some sportive taste. Someone may accept him as their son, and sometimes bind him with ropes to a grinding mortar. Someone else may accept him as an intimate friend, and attaining victory over him, playfully mounts his shoulders. The inhabitants of Braj know Krishna as the son of Nanda Baba, the king of Brajabhumi, and they consider that there can be no relationship with the Lord in the ras of opulence. One who worships the Lord by following the footsteps of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi attains the Lord and gets to know him as he is known in the transcendental planet of Braj. There he is known as who? Son of Nanda. Even the trees have a very intimate relationship with him. Like when Krishna climbs the tree and they get the dust of his lotus feet, they're just in rapture. They don't have a specific relationship like son or friend, but they have the moods of the other rasas. Like a friend, Krishna's climbing on me. And then Mahaprabhu quoted, that he's never having a hard time here. He's never accessible to mental speculators or for those who consider him the Supreme Lord, or those who consider the body as a self. So what was wrong with her? Gurudev tells the Leela in two different ways. One when Krishna came to her after all of her austerities, and one when Yogamaya came. And they both said, okay, what benediction do you want? And she said, I want to enter into the rasa dance. All right, well, the gopis who enter into the ras, they gave up their husbands, gave up any conception that they're married to her husband. And as paramours, they went to Krishna. Are you willing to do that? No, I'm a chaste wife of Lord Narayan. I could never leave him. Well, are you willing to make cow dung patties? No, how can I do that? That's for the cowgirls. I'm a Brahmani. So, because she wasn't, of course, her bodily conception is different from others, but she wasn't able to give up even her spiritual bodily conception. Then Mahaprabhu said, the authorities of the Vedic literatures known as Shruti Gana. Gana means like the group of, like Lalita Gana, the group of Lalita. So Shruti Gana means the group of the Shrutis who are personified. They even make prayers in the, I believe it's the 90th chapter, 89th, 90th chapter of the 10th canto, offering prayers to the Lord, because they're all people. And so they also, because like in them is the glorification of the gopis. So they knew about it. So they wanted to follow the footsteps of the gopis. So they became gopis and other people became the Shrutiganas. So the authorities of Vedic literatures known as the Shrutigana worship Krishna in the ecstasy of the gopis and followed in their footsteps. The personified authorities of the Vedic hymns acquired bodies like those of the gopis. It's pretty inconceivable, all these things. And took birth in Brajabhumi. In those bodies they were allowed to enter into the Lord's Rasalila dance, but she wasn't willing. Krishna belongs to the cowherd community, and the gopis are the dearmost lovers. Although the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets are most opulent within the material world, neither them or any other woman in the material universe can attain Krishna's association. So she wanted to enjoy Krishna at the same time, retain her spiritual body as a Brahmani and as a wife of Lord Narayan. However, and she didn't follow the footsteps of the gopis. So Vyasadeva, the supreme authority on the Vedic literature, composed a verse beginning Nayam Sukapo Bhagavan, because no one can enter the rasa dance without any body other than the bodies of the gopis. So, before that explanation, Venkatapat thought that Sri Narayan was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thinking in this way, he believed that worship of Narayan was the supreme form of worship, superior to all other devotional services, for it was followed by the Sri Vaishnava disciples. Sri Vaishnava means Lakshmi Narayan, disciples of Ramanuja. And Ramanuja is also, in his other incarnation, he is who? Lakshman. And his form of worship and philosophy was guided by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's actually the head of all the four sampradayas. So Mahaprabhu had understood this misconception of Venkatapat, and to correct it, he talked so much in a joking way, but telling the facts. My dear Venkatapat, please do not continue doubting. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and this is the conclusion of all the Vedic literatures. Lord Narayan, the opulent form of Krishna, attracts the minds of the goddess of fortune and her followers. All these incarnations are either plenary portions. This is a very important verse from the Bhagavatam. Vasanti knows it. Ete. Vanshama Ete changsha kala pungsam Krishna stu bhagavan swayam indriyari vyakulam lokam mridayanti juge juge. It's one, what verse is that? It's the third chapter, 1:328. All the incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the Supreme Lord. In every age, he protects the world through the different features, through his different features, when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra, the demons. Because he has 4 extraordinary qualities that his other incarnations can have up to 96%, but only Krishna has 100. And that's why Lakshmi desires his company, but she can't get it because she's not qualified. And what are those 4 distinguishing qualities? Wonderful pastimes that are compared with the ocean. What? Yeah, and association in the circle of supreme devotees in conjugal love, the gopis. It's Prema Madhuri, Leela Madhuri. 3, playing the flute vibration that attracts the 3 worlds. What's that? Venu Madhuri. And his extraordinary beauty, which surpasses anyone's beauty in the 3 worlds. What's that called? Rupa Madhuri. So you have recited the slok beginning Siddhantas Tvabedapi. That very verse is evidence that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How? According to transcendental realization, there's no difference. So he's quoting the same verse that Venkatapat was quoting. So, according to transcendental realization, there's no difference between them. Yet in Krishna there's a special transcendental attraction due to the conjugal mellow, and consequently he surpasses Narayan. This is the conclusion of transcendental mellows. He's quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's funny. Mahaprabhu's quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but it hadn't been written yet. But later you'll find it there, because that was written by Rupa Goswami. So the Supreme Lord attracts the minds of the goddess of fortune, but Narayan can't attract the minds of the gopis. When Krishna left the gopis during the Rasa Leela and took the 2 extra arms, obeisances, obeisances. Have you seen Krishna? So in other words, they were converted. What? Tomorrow? It is getting late, isn't it? well, how about if we just go today till the end when Mahaprabhu leaves finally, and then there's more tomorrow. So anyway, so he was defeated. So then the Lord pacified him by saying, actually, whatever I have said was in the way of jest. Now you can hear from me the conclusion of the Shastra, in which every Vaishnava has full faith. There's no difference between them. They're the same form. In other words, by tattva, by philosophical truth, they're the same. Similarly, there's no difference between the gopis and the goddess of fortune, for they are also the same. So the goddess of fortune enjoys the association of Krishna through the gopis. One should not make distinctions between the forms of the Lord, for such conceptualization is offensive. There's no difference between the transcendental forms of the Lord. Different forms are manifested due to different attachments of certain devotees, like he appeared as Lord Nrsingadev for Prahlad. Actually, the Lord is one, but he appears in different forms to satisfy his devotees. And then he quoted the verse that I was thinking of when I read the previous verse, which is, which you should know, Advaitamachutamanadiranaantarupam Adyam Purana-Purusham Navajovanam Cha. So he's one, Advaitam, Achutam, he never falls. Anadir, unlimited. Anantarupam, his form is unlimited and he has unlimited forms. Where's the room? Somehow or other they all fit. When the jewel known as Vaidurya touches the other materials, it appears to be separated into different colors. When that jewel, Vaidurya, touches other things, it seems to be separated by different colors. Consequently, the forms also appear different. Similarly, according to the meditational ecstasy of the devotee, the Lord who is known as Achyuta, he even takes the form of Lord Varaha, the boar. And Lord Chaitanya visited the temple of Swet Varaha too and offered his obeisances and prayers, even though he's the source of him. So that's why he's Achyuta. Wow, so Venkata Bhatt said, I'm an ordinary fallen living entity, but you are Krishna, the Supreme Lord. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord are infallible and unfathomable, and I don't know anything about them. Whatever you say, I accept as truth. I have engaged in the service of Lakshmi Narayan, but that's due to their mercy. I've been able to see your lotus feet. Out of your causeless mercy, you have told me the glories of Krishna. No one can reach the end of the opulence, qualities, and forms of the Lord. I can now understand that devotional service to Krishna is the supreme form of worship. That was like at the end of the first month or so. Out of your causeless mercy, you have made my life successful simply by explaining these facts. Then he fell down at the feet of the Lord and surrendered. And what did Lord Chaitanya do? Embraced him. Then finally the period of Chaturmashi was over, and Mahaprabhu took permission to leave Venkata Bhatt, and after visiting Sri Ranga, proceeded towards South India. The more southern tip of India. Venkata Bhatt did not want to return home, but also wanted to go with him. It was the great endeavor of Mahaprabhu. He always had to do that. Wherever he went, he had to forcibly stop the people, his devotees, from going. When he did so, Venkata Bhatt fell down unconscious. When, oh when will that day come to us? Such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, at Sri Ranga Kshetra. So what happened to Gopal Bhatta Goswami? They were all feeling too much separation. And Gopal Bhatta wanted to go with Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu said, no, you have to take care of your father. Who's that? Venkata Bhatt. But after, because not only is he your father, but he's your guru as well. Because Gopal Bhatta, the single son of the three, was learning everything from them. And they all had, because they came from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, they all had all the books of that Sampradaya in his throat, Prabodhananda and everybody else. So they were all considered very great learned scholars. So Mahaprabhu said, first take care of your father until his disappearance, and then after he leaves, then you should go to Vrindavan and take shelter of your elder brothers, Rup and Sanatan. Rup and Sanatan Goswamis. So he left, and also Prabodhananda Saraswati left. And he started writing many books. So he was already a great scholar of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but now he started, he became a great Rasic Vaishnava and wrote so many Rasic literatures like Radharasa Siddhanidhi, which Gurudev wants us to know many of those verses, like Kali Kaler Balina Indriya Vairi Varga Vasanti. Shri, huh? Huh? Are you sure? Oh. Huh? Huh? It's still by Prabodhananda Saraswati. But which book? Chaitanya Chandra. Chaitanya Chandramrita. All right, so from Radharasa Siddhanidhi we have Venum Karayani Patitam Skalitam Sakanda Prasta Chapita Vasana. What is it? Let's try that again. Venu Karayani Patitam Skalitam Sakanda Prasta Chapita Vasana Brajaran Rajasuno. That when Krishna was leaving to go cow herding, and he saw that from the sidelong glance of Srimati Radhika, his flute fell from his hand, and his pitambara, yellow cloth, fell from his shoulders. And that's pretty symbolic, isn't it? But it's also summertime. Do we need to give them blankets?
I just get one for the main ones.
Huh?
What I've been doing is one and kind of, I don't know, making it.
I mean, it's pretty symbolic. It doesn't even cover them. If you remind me, I could ask Sripad Manu Maharaj. It's a very important question.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know they don't, like in, huh?
It's pretty hot.
Yeah, like they don't use a peacock fan in the summer, or a shamara. So.
They don't use it in the summer?
In the winter, yep, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
And in Srirangam, is it Srirangam, or where's that one place where the temple is closed and he sleeps and they don't do something to him And then when the season changes, then they start again. So I think it's a good question to ask Maharaj. What were we talking about? Right, so Gopal Bhatta Goswami considers Prabodhananda Saraswati his guru. His flute falls from his hand, and then he practically faints. So now Gopal Bhatta, in desiring to follow the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, maybe they're holding it for when the winter comes. They'll put it on. Yeah, tomorrow morning I'll ask them. So he's on his way now to Vrindavan, and he's passing by this river where there's usually lots of, what's the name of that river? I forget the name of the river, but there's Shalagram Shilas there. Huh? Gandaki River. And he noticed that one big one, like about that size, was following him in the water. And it was as though it was speaking to him that I want to be served by you, so take me with you. So feeling strong that that was the message of the deity, he picked up the deity and held the deity to his breast and brought him back to Vrindavan, holding him in different places. And then he was worshipping the Shalagram Shila there. And wasn't it that this was under the Aswata tree by Seva Kunj, by Nidhuvan and Seva Kunj. So he began desiring that I wish the deities had hands and feet and a face so that I could swing them at Julan Yatra time, and I could dress them and serve them. And he was just so absorbed in that thought, he couldn't stop thinking of it. And he was thinking of it on his way to going to sleep, to falling asleep. And so in the middle of the night, the deity spoke to him and said, "Here I am, you can come and see my beauty." So then he was shocked when he saw them, and he called all the other Goswamis to see, and they were all amazed and appreciated his devotion. So he had the face of, do you remember? The face of Govinda, the chest of Gopinath, the feet of Madan Mohan. Is that how you remember it? And so Gurudev said we can just imagine the glory of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, that the deity would change forms for him. And then he wrote, besides writing this Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas, he also wrote, which book was that? Satkriya Saradipika, which are also about the rules and regulations. And so Gurudev said it's sometimes a debate, that is, did he write the Hari Bhakti Vilas, or was it Sanatana Goswami that wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas? So Gurudev said actually it was Mahaprabhu who wrote it, and he inspired both of them. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami wrote the verses, and Sanatana Goswami wrote the commentaries to the verses. And he also helped Jiva Goswami with the Satsandarbha. And he wrote many other books. And in Goloka Vrindavan, he's Guna Manjari, one of the main Pran Sakis. The Manjaris are two types of Sakis, Nitya Sakis, and then the more elevated, intimate Manjaris are called Pran Sakis, non-different from Radharani's life. She considers them like that. And so then in that way she's engaging 24/7 in service of Radha and Krishna. So we can see how Mahaprabhu was able to transform their whole family because they weren't by constitution Lakshmi Narayan devotees. They were Radha and Krishna devotees. Like, not only is he Guna Manjari, but his uncle, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, is Tungavidya, one of the 8 main Sakis of Srimati Radhika. So it's not that they needed to be converted. But one of the lessons for us here is that you can be converted if it's not your constitution, but if it is, you can't be. Like Mahaprabhu tried to convert Murari Gupta, who by constitution was Hanuman, but he couldn't convert him from Ram worship to Krishna worship. So, of course, there are so many glories of him, and I'll think about if we want to discuss more tomorrow. Okay, so I guess we'll see you then. Gaur Premanandi.